Hello everyone, welcome back to Valecast. My name is Sbfl. Today I'm joined by Callum. Say hello, Callum.
Good evening, Simo. How are we doing?
Very well, mate. This show is brought to you by Motive. We are back. We've got loads of news for you this week. We're going to start with our club updates. And as I said last episode, we have our players on their individual training schedules. Which is good. I'm sure some of them are blown. I don't know if we'll get statistics and run times and stuff like that. We can see who's been on top of their fitness and who's not. Who's been down the pub.
I don't know.
Who's
We'll,
been down the
we'll have a
pub.
wee chat with Craig and Michael and see what they're
Yeah,
saying. But
yeah.
we'll maybe look at the lower end and see if any of the boys are kind of picking up the slack as well. So
I think it'd probably be unprofessional to dig them out on the podcast anyway.
maybe a wee bit.
Pre-season still going ahead 5th of June. Mark that on your calendars. We're going to actually have the new assistant manager, Michael Morrison, joining the show in the next few weeks. Probably the next episode. So it's probably going to be episode 7. We'll get more on. That's what to aim off for. We'll have we'll have a definite date for you probably next episode, in episode 6. Pre-season plans are still very much the same. We're still sorting friendlies and stuff like that. As far as I'm aware, there's no change to guidelines, so we're still aiming off to have fans back in the ground. If you've been watching the FA Cup and that, you've seen a lot of fans at Wembley. As far as I'm aware, it's all going ahead just fine. So still aiming off to have fans back in the stadium at Princess Royal Park, hopefully. We're still pursuing new players. Hopefully, we'll have a couple of faces to announce relatively soon, Callum. Relatively soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we're looking. I say not kind of in the immediate, next couple of days or anything like that. But from speaking to the manager and the chairman, I think we're probably looking towards the end of next month. So kind of end of June. Hopefully we'll have some news on any faces that are coming in to kind of boost the squad. So no, fingers crossed on that. I know there's a few irons in the fire, and Craig and Mo are both working really hard and getting some new boys in to add a bit of competition. So yeah, watch this space for new players, I would say.
Exactly. I think the main thing is we're not standing still. We're out there trying to make some moves. Rest assured, if we do get some new signings in, I'll be doing like interviews and stuff. It'll probably won't be in a Valecast setting right away, but there will be content on the social media platforms, probably YouTube as well. Just interviews, you can see the history of the player, what they're about. Little bit of news in Scottish football. We are going to come on to the national team. We're going to talk about the players that did make the cut, and then we first 11s. We've not talked about it before the episode, so me and Callum actually don't know each other's 11s. So look forward to that in a wee minute. But first, I will cover the Sbfl Playoffs. Okay, so we got Celtic Hearts are up against Brecon 2-1 in their first leg. In League One, Edinburgh City lost to Dumbarton 3-1. And in the Championship, Airdrie lost to Morton 1-0. Okay, let's actually get straight into the squad. In terms of what's changed from last time, notable entries actually is Billy Gilmore. Is one that people weren't too sure about where he was actually going to call up, and he did, thankfully. I'm actually a big fan of Billy Gilmore. I think he offers something different in midfield than what we actually already have. The big miss before we go into the full squad would probably be Ryan Gold. What was your thoughts on that, Callum?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I was listening to an interview with Stevie Clark just after the squad had been announced, and they'd asked him about Gold, and I think he was quite open, in the he wasn't going to be, one of those kind of first couple of names on the team sheet for that position. With him kind of looking at that attacking midfield role, he singled out players like McGinn, Armstrong to a certain extent as well, and Christie Turnbull, who's come in. We'll touch on him as well. But I think there's a lot of competition for places in the middle of the park at the moment, and particularly kind of in that centre attacking midfield role. I don't see him being ahead of some of those other boys just now. Certainly one for the future. And I know he's not a young lad anymore to a certain extent. He has been around the block a wee while, but I think another season like he's had, or even just the last couple of months. Because to be perfectly honest, I didn't hear too much about him until recently. And I know there's a few other players that are kind of in the same boat and have made the squad, but for me, I just don't think there's been enough consistency about him. Yes, he's just come off of this great month and got Player of the Month in the Portuguese leagues, but ultimately I think he's still a little bit off what we're needing at the moment.
I did a wee bit of research into this because it was something that interests me right away. Because there was a few people who were disappointed. I don't tend to cover a whole lot of Portuguese football. A lot of the football I covered is essentially the top 5 leagues in Europe plus the Sbfl, and obviously, of course, now the Highland League.
Of course, greatest league in the world.
But I will give you some stats on Ryan Gauld. Although he has been relegated with Firenze, he is by far and away their top player, and that is evidenced by all their statistics. He's played in several positions, and that's from on both wings. He's played as a central striker. He's also played in centre midfield, but he very much nailed down that number 10 role when they adapted to a 4-2-3-1 system. 32 appearances, 9 goals, 7 assists, a good return for a number 10, 6 Man of the Match awards. He's heavily linked to make a return to Sporting. Consider his price tag is going to be drastically reduced due to the Firenze being relegated. And I think a player that holds a form when their team is in bad shape does say a lot about that player, especially if it's in a more creative role. I think he does have a wee bit of right to be a wee bit hard done by. Okay, and I think he could have probably made it into the squad ahead of players like John Fleck. I think we've got players that can do the job of John Fleck, who hasn't had a particularly strong season this season with Sheffield United. Sheffield United, everybody in that squad has struggled, and I think he maybe could
with
get
Fleck. Just to jump in there, Simon, just while you're speaking on John Fleck, I agree. I mean, I don't think he's a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but if you look through some of the other players that have made the squad, particularly that kind of central holding role, which I think he would be probably most likely would put him into a role like that. You've got players, Scott McTominay, he has been playing at the back for Scotland, quite a lot since he came onto the scene in international football, and you just wonder, does just having Fleck really is that cover for McTominay if he is going to be playing in the middle? Is that really what's cost Ryan Gauld? That there is an array of forward players. You look along the wings, or even that kind of attacking midfield role. And you've got Armstrong, you've got Fraser, Forrest, Christie. I know that like Nisbet could even play out as a right winger. I think there's maybe just been a few more players ahead of him in the queue that has meant that a player like Fleck has been picked purely so that there is a bit of strength and depth for that centre midfield role. So yeah, I think he probably has a bit of a justification to be disappointed. But again, and I know we'll touch on a few more of the boys that narrowly missed out. Again, Stevie Clarke has said that they do have until I think it's the 13th of June to make changes to this squad. If there are any injuries. There's still a game to go in the English leagues, for example. So, there might be 1 or 2 changes required after that. Obviously, if there's any kind of COVID outbreaks or anything like that as well, then again, some of these boys might have to drop out. So, I think as much as I don't think there's an official standby list, I would imagine that Gauld will be quite high in Clark's thinking if a space does open up, particularly.
I think he's next in line.
Forward.
I think he's missed out by one other player. I think he maybe could have got in ahead of is Greg Taylor, and it's not to say anything bad about Greg Taylor. He's had a reasonably strong season at Celtic, making just under 20 appearances. However, he's playing at left back, and this is not a great time to be playing left back if you're a Scottish national player.
And I can't think back to other squads. Absolutely. I can't think back. Thinking of Scotland squads in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s. We never really had that left back spot nailed down. Often there was a right back being played out of position. I would agree. I mean, I'm not surprised because he's been around pretty much every squad that Stevie Clarke's put together. But I wasn't sure if he might pick one of those kind of players who can play across both sides. So likes of a Liam Palmer, for example, who has played right wing and left wing back for Scotland in the past. There is Ryan Fraser there as well, who can play, as a number 2 as well. So, it'll be interesting to see what game time any of these guys actually get. Because, I agree. I think Taylor, as good a player as he is, you're not at Celtic if you're a bad player. But, I think he could maybe count himself a little fortunate to be there. Although I don't think we'll see him play at any point in the tournament, to be honest.
Well, I have a little bit of thinking. When we come on to our 11, I'll probably touch on why I think Clark's opted for it to bring another left back. Because I think he's actually going to try, and I think, I'm absolutely 100% sure he's going to try fit Tierney and Robertson into the side at the same time, working off that sort of back three. When we come on to my formation,
you'll be giving away your formation there, Simo.
I'm already giving away my tactic. I'll go over the full selection right now quickly. We've got Craig Gordon of Hearts, David Marshall of Derby County, both of them just under 100 caps between them, a lot of experience there. And then we have John McLaughlin, second choice keeper at Rangers, Liam Cooper from Leeds United, Declan Gallagher from Motherwell, Grant Hanley of Norwich, Jack Hendry of Kansas City or something. I can't remember. He plays in the MLS.
I think he's still at Celtic. I think he was on loan at Belgium, Osterloons or something like that. Yeah. Again, another name that could maybe be thinking themselves a wee bit fortunate to be there.
Yeah. If he's not in any of the leagues I cover, I'm very sure of that. You can only watch so much football, especially when you've got to talk about it on a near daily basis. Scott McKenna of Nottingham Forest, Stephen O'Donnell of Motherwell, Nathan Patterson, a player I'm very excited about, very much on his second choice right back spot at Rangers. Andy Robertson of Liverpool, of course. Greg Taylor we've already touched on at Celtic. Kieran Tierney of Arsenal. Stuart Armstrong of Southampton. Ryan Christie of Celtic. John Fleck of Sheffield United. James Forrest returns. Just came back from a long-term injury. He obviously plays for Celtic. Ryan Fraser of Newcastle. Billy Gilman of Chelsea. John McGinn, Aston Villa. Callum McGregor, Celtic. Scott McTominay of Manchester United. David Turnbull, Young Player of the Season for Celtic. Shea Adams of Southampton. Lyndon Dykes of Queen's Park Rangers. And Kevin Nisbet of Hibs. And that is the complete squad. We'll come on to our 11s just in a second. And my 11, I'll touch on mine right now. I'll give you my formation right now. I've got a 3-4-1-2, and that was pretty much what Steve Clarke has been playing with over the last few games. He's been playing with a 3-4-1-2 or a 3-4-2-1 when he put Ryan Fraser behind Shea Adams or Lyndon Dykes. The reason I think he's opted for several centre-backs, he brought 5 natural centre-backs, Liam Cooper, Declan Gallagher, Grant Hanley, Jack Hendry, Scott McKenna, all natural centre-backs. But I think he'll opt for a back line of Scott McTominay, Liam Cooper and Kieran Tierney. I don't think he'll play with a defensive midfielder. I think we'll play with a two in midfield and one in the 10. And I think the 2 in midfield will be Callum McGregor and John McGinn as a first choice. And the reason I think Tierney will be in that back three is because he played ever so well when we did try it. I think he got 3 assists in that game from a left-sided centre-back, which is it. He was doing these great overlapping or underlapping runs with Andy Robertson. It seemed to work the best. I mean, Steve Clarke has been trying to work them in together. In a back four, he's tried it. I think it works best in this back three. It gives them both license to go forward. As they're both sort of full-backs, they know when to commit and when to not commit. I think that's where they work best, and I think Steve Clarke's going to play on that because we are by far more dangerous down the left-hand side when they did try that. And I think we'll eventually try and fit both our star strikers in as well, in the shape of Shea Adams, Lyndon Dykes, both holding up the ball, both finding players like Christie just off the back of them, I think, and Ryan Fraser coming in at the back stick. I think that would be my ideal 11. So David Marshall in goal, keeps his spot for me, given his good form. Scott McTominay, Liam Cooper, and Kieran Tierney, Ryan Fraser on the right, Callum McGregor and John McGinn in midfield, Andy Robbo out on the left, Ryan Christie in the 10, Lyndon Dykes and Shea Adams up front. So maybe you could have dropped one of these centre-backs and let Ryan Gold in.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, as I say, I think there's, I think when I counted them up, about 11 defenders or players that could be playing in that back line. 11.
Is that predominantly the defensive side? Mm-hmm. That's what leads me to believe that we're going to be playing a back three.
Yeah, I would agree, and I've done the same. To be honest with you, I've got 3 across the back, the 2 wing backs. I've gone for 2 in the middle, 1 on each wing, and 1 up front for me. So to run you through again, David Marshall, absolutely, no question that he keeps his place. There were a couple of goalies that again could maybe count themselves unfortunate to not be there. Thinking of players like Xander Clark, St Johnston,
often overlooked.
And I think maybe this could have been an opportunity to take along, a younger goalie. I think all goalies are well into their kind of twilights of their career now, to put it nicely. So Maybe an opportunity missed, because again, I don't see McLaughlin coming off the bench or even getting on the bench if that's the way it goes. Liam Kelly, who's just picked up Player of the Year at Motherwell, again on loan from QPR, again could have had a shout. And I'm still not convinced that Stevie Clark didn't pick up the phone to Alan McGregor after the season that he's just had.
He definitely asked the question, didn't he?
Off the back, off the back of probably one of the best seasons of his career.
Player of the Year at Rangers.
Picking up Player of the Year, well, not just at Rangers, but Sbfl Player of the Year as well, I believe. So, it could have been a nice way maybe for him to come back, but whether that call's happened or not, who knows. But yeah, so I've got David Marshall in there. Back three of Scott McTominay. I think you see him play for Man United, and he is a good holding midfielder. Him and Fred seem to have kind of partnered up quite well.
Spot. Definitely nailed down that spot in the number 6 at Man United. As one of the first names in the team.
I agree. I think he's doing a really good job for us at the back at the moment. So so I'd go McTominay, Tierney on the other side of defence in that kind of left centre back role. And one change from yours, I've gone for Grant Hanley right at the back. I think if you'd asked me maybe 6 months ago, I might not have even had him in the squad, to be honest with you. But he's just gone up back up to the Premiership or Premier League rather with Norwich. He's had a very, very strong season as well, to be honest. So I think he just sneaks in there ahead of McKenna. Maybe he's got a shout. Declan Gallagher, who's obviously leaving Motherwell and moving to Aberdeen.
I felt bad leaving Declan McGallagher out, considering he did play supremely well when he did come on for us. He was that linchpin at the back and allowed McTominay to play out, allowed Tierney to bomb on a little bit. The reason I went for Cooper is because I know how good he can be with the ball at his feet, and I think that kind of adds us to a wee bit of that. Although Liam Cooper's had a couple of injuries this season, but he's came back and he's finished the season strong, and I hope he can push on for that and go to the Euros. But go on. So
you're so that's my three. Again, a couple of players that haven't made the squad that I think have every right to feel disappointed. First and foremost being Andy Considine. I think he had a really strong shout, possibly ahead of Hendry and even McKenna, to be honest. Again, McKenna's not been playing regularly at Nottingham Forest. Again, struggled with form and injury. So this is very disappointing for Considine. I think that was his one and only chance of a major tournament. So I think he can be quite aggrieved. Another couple of players for that centre back, or one other player in particular for that centre back spot. His club's not had the greatest season, but I think he has is Stephen Welsh of Celtic. I think he's one that will go on to become an international centre half, but we'll wait and see where that comes. I've gone with O'Donnell at right wing back over Fraser. I think again he's had a solid season with Motherwell and has never really let Scotland down, to be honest. So happy with him at that side, and Andy Robertson as captain at left wing back. Again, a couple of players for that role, possibly. If we didn't have Greg Taylor in the squad, Josh Doig at Hibs, who's just one young player this year as well for the league, could have been a good shout there as well. I think that's probably the only other option they would have at left back at this stage. I don't think Graham Shinney's going back into that position. Seems to be playing that kind of holding midfield role again for Derby. So I think that's probably as it is. He's never really done it international.
When he moved to
I was
Scotland, did he?
I was a big fan of his when he was playing in centre midfield at Aberdeen, but he just never really seemed to adapt to the international stage. Because again, he was a left back at Cali, moved to Aberdeen, and took on the number 3 jersey, but was always more of a centre midfielder. Goes to play with Scotland and is pumped back at left back again. So I don't think we'll see him in a future squad anytime soon. 2 in the middle. John McGinn, Callum McGregor. I think that's a partnership that's working, so there's no point breaking that up at this stage. Stewart Armstrong. Yeah, Stewart Armstrong would be close. I think he'll be one that comes off the bench quite a lot. I think he's got a good impact player. Gilmore for me, I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest with you. I know he's obviously playing at a great team, but I wouldn't say I've seen enough of him to say that he would go in over them at this stage. Same with Turnbull, obviously new to international football as well. So I can't see him taking over a starting position, certainly straight away. We've obviously had a few injuries in that department, or that position of the park, with Ryan Jack and Kenny McLean both missing out. And Lewis Ferguson was another that was kind of linked with maybe getting a a space in the squad. I think he would have probably been, Turnbull or Gilmore or Ferguson or Gold. Probably would have been my take on it. But we'll see if Lewis Ferguson gets his move to Watford after handing in his transfer request this week at Aberdeen. But he won't be going to the Euros, obviously. Where are we then? So on to right wing first. Maybe controversially, I've gone with James Forrest. I know that we've had a few back and forths on Twitter over the last few days about Forrest's inclusion in the team, but for me, when he's on it, he's one of the best players that we've got in that position. You just hope that he is firing. If not, then I think an 80% James Forrest is nowhere near the starting 11. But if we get him on, good form, keeps clear of injury, he could be a standout for us this summer. Compliment on the other wing was Ryan Christie. I think Fraser's, potentially another option. Could be for either of them, to be honest. But that's where I've gone. And up front, I'm torn, to be honest with you. Dykes or Adams for me at this stage. If I was going to be putting money on one of them, I would probably say Shea Adams to start. Dykes, I think he's a great impact player.
Are you in the same boat as me, as in Dykes has never done us wrong in a Scotland shirt, but Shea Adams clearly plays at a higher level?
Yeah,
of the two.
I think so. Adams.
For me, if you ask me different days, I might give you different answers.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dykes is he's a big lump of a boy, and he can put himself about. And I think we might see them paired together for the England game. I think we might go with a lone striker for the other, certainly for the first game. I think they might put them both up there for the England game. But again, a few players that might be disappointed to miss out. Kevin Nisbet's obviously just new to international football as well. I think maybe got a couple of caps. Ollie McBurney's injured, which in my opinion is probably a blessing, to be honest, because he is the one player that I've just never taken a fancy to. So yeah, McBurney can stay away. He's out. And Lauren Shankland again. I think he had his hype season last year and is not really kicked on, so that's fair enough. Eamon Brophy is another one that could have been in with a shout. And the other one that has been, I think, most linked with a place in the team was Lee Griffiths. Similar to Forrest, Griffiths on his day, can be a world beater, but that day doesn't come too often. So
free kick as well. Yeah,
you get a couple of free kicks in the last minute at Wembley. I know who I would put on it, but you can't bring a player along to a tournament just in case we get a free kick in the last minute. So, I'm quite happy with the choices we've got up there, to be honest.
To be honest, even if Ollie McBurney was fit, I don't think he has any right. He's been terrible in a Scotland shirt and he's had a shocking season this season. I don't think he has any right to make it in ahead of any of those strikers we've listed.
I think
so
now,
far.
What's he on now? 16 caps? 16 caps for Scotland?
And Steve Clark
not a single goal.
Like him.
Yeah.
Steve Clark seems to like him, so I think when people have seen that he took a wee knock, it was, oh no, feel so bad.
I know. I mean, Kevin Nisbet will be happy with it because it's probably
it's probably how you
get in. I think Adams is probably the complete package. He's a great finisher. He's got pace and he's good in the air. Dykes has the aerial ability, and Nisbet is the speed merchant. So I think between the three of them, there's a good balance there. It means that Adams can play up top, on his own, or have either one of them playing off the side of him. Again, maybe Johnny Russell is an unfortunate name. I know he's missed a lot through with the COVID travel restrictions, whether that's still playing a part in this squad decision or not. But I think on the whole, there's not a lot of changes I would make. Apart from Andy Considine, I'd have him in my squad every day of the week.
So not getting on a wee bit, Andy. What age is he now?
Oh, yeah, he's 30. 34, 35, something like that. I mean, he's a good age. Apologies if he's listening and he's not 35, but he's well into his 30s now. And as I say, I think this was realistically his last chance of playing at a major tournament with Scotland. Again, you could argue that Aberdeen haven't had the greatest season, and there's a few players that maybe have disappointed in a red shirt, but I don't think Considine would be included in that list. I think he's one of the standout players for them this season. So I think again he would be very, very close to that call up. Who knows? He may end up still being on that list if any of these boys pick up a knock in the last game of the season or anything like that, or in training. So I think Stevie Clark's kind of got him on standby as well. So yeah, we'll see. But that's my squad as well. And we'll put them up. We'll put up a wee graphic of both of our squads, and then everybody at home can tell us who they would have instead of our picks. Exactly. I mean, this is the football manager side of us coming out against some of. So let us know where we're going right, and let us know where we've got it absolutely wrong. I'm sure there'll be a James Forrest comment in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what other folk.
Craig's probably watching, thinking these boys don't have a clue. That's why I'm the manager.
Exactly. That's why I'm nowhere near the pitch. That's for sure. So.
Just before we finish, I watched Damien Brophy play the final game of the season for St Mirren against Dundee United, and he looked in great shape. He just couldn't finish a chance. He had so many great opportunities to finish when he came so close, 1-on-1 with the keeper. Forced the keeper into a couple of good saves. Really exciting player for St Mirren at the minute. But yeah, I don't think he's played enough football this season to totally warrant a select.
I think he's had a few injuries as well, hasn't he, since his move?
He has, yeah.
But again, he's I don't think he's not one of those kind of top three kind of teams that he would play in the leagues. But I think he's a solid backup option. Likes of a Shankland now, who's had a bit of a breakout and then kind of reverted back to maybe where he was when he was at kind of Aberdeen in his early career. I don't think these boys have kicked on enough to warrant getting in over somebody like Kevin Nisbet at the moment.
Absolutely. Before we finish up, Callum, you will be on the Send Them Off podcast next Saturday.
Yes, I'm going to speak about the Scotland squad all over again if anybody wants to join us for that. So that'll be going out Saturday the 29th of May around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe. So I'll be joining the boys from Send Them Off to have a chat around the Scotland squad, hopes for the summer. I believe there's going to be somebody from each of the home nations, so it could be a good bit of a laugh to tune into. So check them out on the socials. They're all over Instagram and Twitter and everywhere like that. And I believe you can access that podcast at all of the usual places, kind of similar to Valecast now on Spotify, Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts as well. So go and check them out. And as I say, the episode will be up a week on Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Brilliant. I think we have covered everything this week. Before we finish, thank you very much for always supporting the videos. Make sure you please like and subscribe. And get over 100 views on every episode of Valecast so far. Absolutely brilliant. Please continue to support. Please share it with your friends and all your Deveronvale fans. And we will be back every Thursday to bring you another episode of Valecast. We will see you in the next one. Cheerio, bye.